She smirked across the holiday table and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Tiffany, how's that loan you're drowning in? Must be hard living like that." The whole room went silent. Then laughter broke out. My chest burned, but I smiled instead of breaking down. They thought I was weak, that I had nothing to my name. But what they didn't know was that the very loan she mocked me for was tied to something far bigger than any of them could imagine. If this moment already shocked you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe because the twists ahead will leave you speechless. I looked around the table. My mom tried to hide her smirk. My sister pretended to sip her wine, and my aunt shook her head with fake pity. They wanted me to feel small. They wanted to remind me I was the struggling one. But in that very moment, as their eyes burned holes into me, I realized I held the one truth that could turn this entire dinner upside down. I leaned forward, my voice calm but sharp. "Funny thing about loans," I said, locking eyes with her. "Sometimes the person you laugh at is the same one holding the keys to your future." The laughter stopped instantly. My cousin dropped her fork. Even my dad's smile froze. Nobody expected me to fight back. Nobody expected me to speak with such confidence. Their curiosity hung heavy in the air. What did I mean? What was I hiding? And as I sat back in my chair, my heart racing, I knew this was just the beginning of the storm I was about to unleash. The silence around the table grew so heavy that even the clinking of glasses stopped. My aunt, the one who mocked me, raised her eyebrows and chuckled nervously. "Keys to our future? Tiffany, please. You can't even manage your own bills. Don't act like you're someone important." Her words stung. But what she didn't know was that every sacrifice, every sleepless night, and every loan she mocked me for had been fueling something much bigger. I took a slow sip of water, watching their smug faces. My sister leaned in with fake sympathy. "Don't take it personally, Tiff. We're just worried about you. I mean, it's embarrassing when family struggles like this. You should have asked us for help instead of, pretending everything's fine." The way she said embarrassing felt like a knife. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about how my struggle made them look. But the truth was, I hadn't borrowed a single cent from them. Every penny of that loan was mine. Every payment I made came from my own hustle. And what they didn't realize was that the loan wasn't about survival. It was an investment, one they'd soon wish they had been part of. My dad finally spoke, shaking his head with disappointment. "Tiffany, we all told you not to chase crazy dreams. You should have listened. Look at your cousin Emily, married, stable, beautiful home. And you? Still scraping by with debt. Sometimes you need to accept your limits." His words landed like heavy stones, and the table nodded in agreement, comparing me to Emily, their golden child. My hands tightened around the napkin under the table. They had no idea how many nights I worked through tears, building something in silence while they gossiped behind my back. They thought they were humiliating me, but in reality, they were setting the stage for the biggest shock of their lives. I leaned back, keeping my voice steady but firm. "Funny you mention stability, Dad, because sometimes the people you call stable are the ones about to lose it all. And sometimes, the ones you laugh at are the ones paying for the roof over your head." Gasps filled the table. My sister's wineglass trembled in her hand. My aunt's eyes narrowed, trying to figure out if I was bluffing. But I wasn't. And in that tense moment, as their fake smiles cracked and their curiosity grew, I knew it was almost time to reveal the truth that would flip their world upside down. My cousin Emily finally broke the silence, her tone sharp and dripping with superiority. "Oh, please, Tiffany. You always act mysterious, like you're hiding some big secret. But let's be real. You've been struggling for years. We all know it. If you had anything worth bragging about, you'd have shown it already." She smirked as if her words had sealed the argument. The others nodded in agreement, like a jury ready to sentence me guilty. But what they didn't know was that for the past 3 years, while they were busy flashing their perfect lives on social media, I was working 14-hour days. That loan they mocked? It wasn't for shopping or paying off old mistakes. It was the seed money I used to build something they couldn't even dream of owning. And every single insult they threw tonight only made the moment of revelation sweeter. I caught Emily's smug grin and said softly, "You're right, Emily. I don't post my life online because, unlike you, I don't need likes to feel successful. My success is quieter, but much bigger," her smile faltered. My mother quickly cut in, her voice stern. "Enough, Tiffany. Stop this nonsense. You should be grateful we even invited you here tonight. Don't embarrass yourself further." She was terrified. I could hear it in her tone. The fear that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't bluffing. I leaned forward, elbows on the table, and let my eyes travel across each face. Embarrass myself? No, you see, I've stayed silent long enough. While you were all busy mocking me, I was building something none of you bothered to believe in. The tension grew thicker. My father frowned. My aunt whispered, "She's bluffing. She has nothing." But the unease in their voices betrayed them. Then, with deliberate calm, I pulled out my phone, opened an email, and placed it on the table. "Do you know what this is?" I asked, sliding it toward my father. His eyes scanned the screen, and his jaw dropped. It wasn't just a bank notification. It was a purchase confirmation, a deed. The home they sat in, the very house where they mocked me, was no longer theirs. It was mine. The room erupted. My mom's face went pale. Emily gasped so hard she almost choked, and my aunt's fork clattered against her plate. My dad's hand shook as he read the document again and again, unable to believe what was right in front of him. And I sat there, calm, collected, watching their perfect little world begin to crumble piece by piece. But that wasn't even the biggest revelation I had planned for tonight. My father's hands trembled as he set the phone back on the table, his voice barely holding steady. This has to be a mistake. "Tiffany, you can't just buy a house like this. This house. Do you even realize what you're saying?" I leaned back in my chair, my calm smile only making them more restless. "I didn't just buy it, Dad. I've been planning this for years. While you all mocked me for having loans, I was investing, building, and waiting for the right moment." "And guess what? That moment is tonight." Emily shot forward, her face red with anger. "You're lying. You could never afford something like this. You don't even have a stable job." Her voice cracked with panic, and that's when I knew I had her exactly where I wanted. I looked directly at her, my words sharp and slow. "You're right. I don't have a job. I have a company." The room froze. Forks hung midair. My mother's wine glass slipped from her hand, crashing against the floor, but no one even flinched. They were all staring at me like I had just spoken another language. A company?" My aunt stammered, her fake confidence finally gone. I nodded. 3 years ago, I took out that loan you all love to laugh about. I invested it into a small tech startup idea I'd been working on quietly. It wasn't easy. I went hungry some nights. I worked 2 jobs, and I had no support from this family. But slowly it grew. Clients came in. Investors noticed. And now, I paused, letting their silence stretch, feeding the suspense. Now that startup is worth 7 figures. The air in the dining room shifted. Their mockery had turned into something else. Fear, envy, regret. My father's face turned pale, his eyes darting between me and the phone. You mean to tell me that while we were worried about your failures, you were out there? Becoming rich? I tilted my head slightly. Not just rich, Dad. Independent, powerful. And do you know what the sweetest part is? All of you were too busy laughing to even notice it happening right in front of you. Emily slammed her hands on the table, her voice shaking with rage. This is insane. If you're so successful, why didn't you tell us earlier? Why wait until now to humiliate us? I leaned closer, my eyes locked on hers. Because you never listened. Because every time I tried to share something, you shut me down, mocked me, made me feel like less. Tonight I wanted you to see me the way you always painted me, small, weak, broke. And then I wanted to watch your faces when the truth shattered every lie you told about me. Their silence was louder than any insult they had ever thrown at me. The golden child, Emily, suddenly looked powerless. My mother's lips trembled, trying to form words but failing. My aunt looked at me like she was seeing a stranger for the first time. And then, I dropped the line that made the whole table gasp in unison. Oh, and one more thing, I didn't just buy this house. I own the company that employs half the people sitting at this table. The room spun with shock. Plates rattled, my cousin's mouth hung open, and even my father pushed his chair back as if I had physically struck him. But I wasn't done yet. The biggest twist, the one that would leave them completely shattered, was still waiting. My aunt was the first to recover, though her voice trembled as she tried to laugh it off. Employs half the table? You must be exaggerating, Tiffany. Don't be dramatic. But deep down, she already knew I wasn't bluffing. I folded my arms, calm as ever. Emily, your husband works for my company's finance department. Uncle Jack? He's on my payroll too. And remember when you all laughed because I was working weekends and missing family events? That was me negotiating contracts that keep this entire family fed. The shock hit them like a storm. My cousin Emily's face drained of color, her lips parting in disbelief. Wait, my husband reports to you? She whispered, almost choking on the words. I nodded slowly. Not just reports. I signed his promotion papers. And I can sign his termination papers just as easily. The silence that followed was suffocating. Every arrogant smile, every insult they had thrown at me over the years. Suddenly, it all flipped. The people who mocked me were now at my mercy. My father's hand shook as he tried to pour himself another drink. Tiffany! We didn't know. We thought you were lost. If we had known, we would have supported you. His tone was desperate now, a far cry from the man who once called me a failure. I leaned forward, my voice low but cutting through the air like a blade. No, Dad, you didn't want to know. Because supporting me would have meant admitting that I was worth something. And that scared you. You wanted me small so you could feel big. My mother finally spoke, her voice cracking. Tiff, we're family. Can't we move past this? I shook my head slowly, my calmness scarier than anger. Family doesn't laugh when you're fighting to survive. Family doesn't humiliate you at a holiday table. Family doesn't tear you down just to feel taller. You all showed me who you really are. And tonight, I showed you who I've become. The table was frozen, their eyes filled with fear and regret. I stood, straightened my jacket, and grabbed my phone from the table. Enjoy the rest of your dinner, I said, my voice cold but steady. Just remember, you don't laugh at the person holding the keys to your future. As I walked away, their stunned silence followed me out the door. For years, I had been the underdog, the joke, the one they counted out. But tonight, I wasn't just Tiffany, the girl with a loan. I was Tiffany, the woman who owned the table they tried to push me off of. And the best part? They would never look at me the same again.